So you ever hear of the Silk Road? Guys in the chat, who knows about Ross Ulbricht? Have you heard the story before? So Ross Ulbricht, you could call him an entrepreneur. He started this thing called the Silk Road in 2011. This was a darknet site. He used Tor to create it, and basically it was like where people use Bitcoin to buy drugs, and all kinds of nasty stuff ended up happening on there. But at this time, the government's starting to get real freaked out about the ability to use the dark web to kind of skirt around things, because this is like, when they're trying to clamp down on what you're able to do on the internet and everything. So they, in 2011, Chuck Schumer starts leading the way and calling for the law enforcement to investigate this and whatnot. So he calls the DEA, makes this whole public thing about it, starts having magazines publish reports about it. And he's, singing and dancing about it in Congress, making a whole big thing out of it.
What's his name? What's his name? Say it one more time, sorry.
The kid?
Yeah, the guy we're talking about.
Ross Ulbricht.
All right. Keep going.
Yeah. So Chuck Schumer starts making a whole big thing about it. The kid gets arrested in 2013, and the FBI is involved, Homeland Security is involved, the DEA is involved, the IRS is involved, and he's convicted in 2015, and he's convicted on charges of money laundering, conspiracy to traffic narcotics, running a criminal enterprise, and they want to make an example out of him, so they charge him with any drug overdose or any murder or any human trafficking that would have taken place over this thing. So this thing became like a real nasty hub for illegal activity or like dark web type of shit. Mm-hmm. So he gets sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years. You hear what I said?
Yeah. He's in there for his fault. Yeah.
2
times over.
Yeah, so like basically like 250 years. And it's this whole crazy thing where like this whole libertarian movement's been rallying around him for the last 10 years. His mom's always on TV. It's like this whole big sad emotional thing, like where they've been trying to advocate to get him out for the longest time. And like a lot of people believe that Chuck Schumer was like one who really heavily influenced this and tried to make this sentencing as severe as possible. The judge said that she wanted this case to be a warning to others to kind of scare people out of doing this. So they, like the worst possible position you could be in is when the government wants to make an example out of you. And that's, so that's what we had here. And, but today, Trump finally pardoned this guy. So this is one of his big promises when he went to the libertarian rally. They weren't super sold on him at first, but this was like their big thing that they've cared about for a long time. So he made good on that promise today.
Yeah. I mean, my buddy had mentioned him, about the Silk Road, but I personally didn't really know about him. Yeah, keep going. I don't know if you want me to comment.
No, I mean, so so you never heard of the Silk Road or anything like this?
No, I truthfully have never heard about it.
Yeah, so like a lot of people that I know that are like come from, so I actually know a lot of people who used Bitcoin back in like 2013, 2011 to like buy weed and stuff on the Silk Road. And so like, I know this kid, for example, who has like all these transaction receipts where like when Bitcoin was like $40 a Bitcoin, where he's like buying weed with Bitcoin on the Silk Road. And
I bet he fucking regrets that shit today, boy.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing where like they just wanted to like scare the shit out of people from doing anything like this, where they just wanted to make an example of him, and nobody's even pondered the idea of getting him out of here until Trump. So I don't know. It's just like a really big win for this community, and it's like a big emotional thing that everybody's been waiting for. So I mean, I know that community's happy, but they've been giving Trump a hard time like about these Jan 6th pardons, but we're going to talk about that later. But I mean, it's hilarious that they have the audacity to do that on the heels of Biden pardoning his whole family. And it's weird to me that
the press conference he did a little earlier, probably an hour and a half ago, he spoke about it, and the press was trying to kind of get into him. And he was like, you guys are really worried about this. You're worried about people who protested. And he went into the Capitol, but didn't do any damage. He's like, that's who I'm pardoning. He even said that there's several people who are under review, and there's some that will not be pardoned who actually did, like damage to the Capitol. There's people who are not getting pardoned, right? So it's not just like it's a clean slate, clean blanket for everybody. He literally said it's all under review, but his goal is to get everybody. Because he was saying, well, we'll get more into it later, but yeah.
Here, so I'll play a video quick of his mom. I think she said this in 2018 when Trump was president.
Chat, have you guys heard of the Silk Road? Am I the only one that just kind of am I late to the party?
I think you're in the minority here.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ms. D.
My son Ross Ulbricht was given a
Oh, let me see if this output's going to the right place.
I could hear it.
double life
Here we go.
sentence plus 40 years for all. Mr. President, my son Ross Ulbricht was given a double life sentence plus 40 years for all nonviolent charges. He never hurt anyone. And I know that you care about fairness in the criminal justice system. Ross has widespread support in the tech and cryptocurrency communities, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you further about his case.
So that's 2018. So it wasn't a hot enough thing back then. But I mean, shit, dude, like imagine that, like the helplessness you must have felt in that situation where like you're used to this assembly line of establishment people who wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. And, you know, you get this outsider that comes in and like they probably fully expected to never get their son out of jail, like never have the slightest chance in hell of doing it.
Well, I mean, it's been 12 years. He said 2013. So he's been in there for 12 years. He's already served.
Yeah. And like Trump was saying last night with, like when it came to the, January 6th stuff, like he's like, there's murderers who don't even go to jail for a year these days.
Yeah. I mean, out here in Charlotte, I mean, my car got shot up, broken into, and all these people just kept getting thrown back in the street. Literally got told that by the cops. They were like, yeah, man. He goes, there's not much we could do. He's like, and the judges aren't even touching these people. They're just letting them, throwing them right back. Maybe worst case scenario, and they're making them do community service, and that's it. So that's a true statement. That's a true statement in a lot of cities.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the weird things that's going on right now. Like the things that they're choosing to prioritize with crime, and the things they're more than happy to let go by the wayside and not even touch.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so we could move on to this this Trump thing that happened today.
So before we go, there, are you for it or are you against it?
Super for it. I thought it was like straight evil. I mean, I think it was like you want to talk about lawfare. This is lawfare to the highest extent because
100%.
They were just freaked out by the technology. Like they're freaked out by the notion of people being able to operate on the internet without the government oversight. Because they set up this nice little system that they had with the Patriot Act where they could just monitor every little last thing you do. But the internet that we use, like the search engines that we use, is just like the tip of the iceberg of the internet. It's let's see, I think there's a chart even that I'll try to find it quick that shows the internet that we use versus the dark web.
Yeah, so from the chat, it sounds like it's a little bit of 50-50 where we have some people.
Should I put a poll? I'll put a poll.
Yeah, we have some. I know Stevie P said he's never heard of it. Jim's
never
heard of it.
Steve P's never heard of it?
Yeah.
I thought for sure Steve P would have heard of it. Let's see. Let me put this poll question.
Interesting. And while we're here, chat, make sure you have some likes, some shares, share it around the people. Yeah, like Brandon says, to your friends and your enemies.
Yeah, send it to anybody who would either hate it or love it.
Yeah, hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Support. Thank you guys.
All right, so I just posted that in the chat. Have you heard of Ross or the Silk Road? And I'm looking for. There's this sick. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. So I wonder if that technically falls under the deep web or the dark web because there's these 3 layers of it. Yeah, this chart's sick. Where'd it go? So
wow.
So surface web, like this little tip of the iceberg here, this is like Google and the search engines that we use. But then
stuff we all use every day.
Yeah, but down here, this is where the real nasty, sick, twisted shit happens.
Do you want to zoom into that a little bit? You can not really see it too well. Can you? If not, it's all right. I don't know if Chet can see it.
Let me see. Where was it looking like? Oh, huh. Interesting. I pulled up a different page. I got you. So here we go. All
So out of 18 votes right now, it's 56-44.
right. So yeah, this tip right here, this is what we use every day. This is Google and all the search engines that we use. Maybe a little bit of Yandex if you're getting crazy. But the deep web, that's academic information, medical records, legal documents, scientific reports, multilingual databases, conference proceedings, government resources, competitor websites. So this is like
that's people who are really digging for it.
Yeah, this is like the databases that you get access to if you're like in college or something, or the stuff that you pay for to have access to.
Okay.
But then the dark web, all the way down, like the underbelly of it, that's what he was using. Like this is the untraceable stuff where you use like the Tor browser, and like I took a class in this like a long time ago where I had to use Tor and download it, and it's
I'm pretty sure you need to have like a VPN and all that, and you like have to be really careful because it can't. I've heard of people who have used it. I've heard people using it for good and for bad. And as far as bad, I'm saying like to buy drugs or whatever. I've heard even people getting this shipped right to their house, mailbox dropped off, and they were good. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, I wonder if Umberto's ever used the dark web before, but I remember like this thing. It's like you don't even know if you're gonna like stumble upon some crazy like child trafficking ring or something. If you like click on the wrong thing, it's a real creepy place to navigate. But there's like no oversight on it, so that's the weird part of it. And I guess it just like really hit a nerve with the government that like the notion that people could use this in a wide scalable way.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's where we're at with the Ross Ulbricht thing. I mean, it's weird. We never really heard too much about, like, maybe they just scared the shit out of everybody to the point where nobody even dared to use it after this. But they yeah, like they wanted to like set an example, and like I said, that's the worst possible place to be in, is like when the government wants to set an example of you.
Oh yeah, I mean, another example that recently that happened was right after what's his name, the Luigi, right after Luigi, you know, his 3 words, I forget now, that he says:
deny, defend, depose, or
something like that. Well, a woman in Florida, she called her insurance and they denied her access to something, and the only thing she did was say deny, defend, whatever the third one was. FBI, fucking everybody went down into her house. They arrested her, and they wanted to give her like 20 plus years in jail for saying defend, or whatever. They found no weapons. They found nothing in her house, just for saying those 3 things, same as Luigi. They're trying to make an example out of her. That's the worst place you could ever be, is like you said, when the government is trying to set an example out of you.
And that's what January 6th was.
Politically driven, right? And it was what Trump was saying today, which is because the fact that people are more concerned with these politically driven cases, right, rather than actually focusing on things and getting murderers and rapists out of the streets and just criminals in general, right? That's not being reported on, right? But
yeah,
you're getting reported on politically driven cases. But keep going. Sorry.
No, we can't hear you yet. You got to unmute yourself, Umberto. Got it. So do we have Umberto in the chat?
All right. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, here he is.
Okay, I had to jump in because this tour thing, and it's very interesting.
You seem like a tour guide. Chat, can you hear Umberto?
I'm not a tour guy. Come on.
So real quick, sorry, 40% have said yes, 60% vote out of 35 votes have not heard about the Silk Road.
Wow, interesting.
And then we also have, sorry, one last thing. Nick said Trump just pardoned Luigi.
Trump just pardoned Luigi?
Is that fucking
true?
No,
that's not true.
That is not true. It can't be.
We'll be spreading misinformation in here, Nick.
Okay. I was going to say that would be wild, but go ahead, my bad.
So basically, the surface web, the one that we use every day, it's an index, all right? So like just think about a Barnes and Nobles, that everything is, where you expect it to be. Mm-hmm. And then the deep web. And most of the deep web is like, they paint it as this like, clandestine, dark thing. Like most of the websites that we use every day, like the bigger part of them is in the deep web. All right.
Okay.
Like all this stuff what we don't usually have access to, like video servers, media servers, blah blah blah. It's all in the deep web. All right.
Yeah.
So what the Tor browser is,
It's all the way. Are you looking at the screen right now with this graphic?
yeah, that's why I'm going one by one.
Gotcha.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what the Tor browser does is it has a different indexing system. Like if you had to like, look around the dark web without the Tor browser, it'd be incredibly complicated because it works with nodes. And it's just very, very difficult. The Tor browser, like all in all, it makes your connection encrypted. It uses nodes. So like it masks what you're doing in there. And even though it has drawbacks, it's a lot slower than normal web and this and that. But yeah, like it's not a big deal, and it's not necessarily evil. But what the government hates is that they can't track you there. All right. If there's one thing they do and they love is taxing you and tracking you. Those are the two favorite things.
Right.
So as most payments made in the deep web, they're done with crypto, and they're done through like secure browsers, and they're anonymous. They had to send a message,
Right.
And you don't even have to be buying anything nefarious. You can be buying a car. You could be buying, whatever it is. But since they can't trace it, they can't track it, and they can't tax it, they send this guy straight to jail. But I don't know. Personally, I think in the big scheme of things, because drugs are bad, and some of the stuff that goes on there is not good at all. It's not safe for life. But overall, I think is a good pardon, and it sets the tone of the new dawn of America.
Yeah, I mean, like the guys spent enough time there. I mean, like shit. And there's a lot of constitutional questions around the thing too. Like he got arrested in California. They intentionally put him in the they tried him in the New York Southern District, which is like notoriously a super strict hardcore district. So it's like they strategically placed him in a place to get the worst pounding possible.
That's actually illegal, Brandon. Like the Constitution said that you need to be judged by a group of your peers.
Right.
All right. Californians and New Yorkers are two type of different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they brought him into hostile territory.
Yeah.
And dude, can you believe that freaking Chuck Schumer was the one leading the charge on this? Like he brought attention to it, and then he was the one who was influencing the prosecutor, because I guess the prosecutor of the Southern District at the time, it was originally potentially supposed to be Schumer, but Obama picked this other guy over Schumer, but Schumer still had a lot of influence over the case and a lot of influence over the sentencing. But they left no stone unturned. Like they brought in 4 different law enforcement agencies, and I think they charged the kid with like any possible injury or fatality or crime that was like associated with anybody who operated on this thing. 2
life sentences and 40 years, Brendan.
Yeah, like when do you hear of that?
They threw the book at the kid.
Like you don't even hear of that for the freaking what was it? The Lake and Riley. I'm pretty sure her killer didn't even get that much time.
No, and not even some like known violent drug dealers that were actually dealing drugs, running guns, get such harsh sentences. It's insane.
No, they get to work for the government sometimes. But yeah, so that's
because Brandon, if the problem was dealing drugs, we have penalties for dealing drugs, and they're not as harsh, So the problem is that this cannot be tracked, this cannot be taxed, and that's what makes the government uncomfortable. That's what it is. That's the point.
And nobody else, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't heard of any real big cases with this ever since this. Like, was there ever another like big giant operation like this that got this big? I don't think there was.
Well, that's the beauty of this, Brandon. It's really hard to catch. That's why they have. No. I'm being serious. That's when they caught someone. When they had the chance, they had to throw the book at him.
Right. Well, I'm glad to see that he's out. His family's definitely suffered over the last 10 years. Like, I mean, I can't imagine like when the government throws the book at somebody that's in your family, and that's like they overdid with the sentence, but there's no friendlies in the government for you, and they're all super convicted in this position. But man, like what a godsend Trump has been to certain people. And
can I tell you another thing? I think an incredibly smart guy like this guy not only needs to be free, he needs to be put to work on the MAGA project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How old is he?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just gonna look up his age.
the actual time that the Lincoln Riley murder got was just a life sentence without parole. That's it.
Yeah. So what? A third of what this guy got?
Yeah, a third of what he got, which is
That's
crazy.
insane. Yeah. Ross is 40 now. So shit. Like imagine that he missed all of his 30s.
Best time.